All right, we'll come to order. All rise for the pledge, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we'll do roll call. Mr. Rosema?
Present.
Mr. Robertson?
Here.
Mr. Ferris?
Here.
Mrs. Hopkins?
Here.
And Mr. Jansma is here. We are all here. Okay. I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Robertson, supported by Hopkins. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Those opposed, same sign. 5-0. Right there. Yeah, this is a regular meeting. This is regular schedule. Nope, regularly scheduled on the calendar. We just added a public hearing. Public hearings have to be conducted as part of a meeting. They can't stand on their own. Okay.
I'm confused, I thought we were starting at 6:30 for the special meeting.
For the public hearing. That's what we're starting at 6:30 for.
All right.
But we have to do, because it's part of its own, it can't be its own meeting. It's gotta be part of a meeting.
Well,
Yeah.
okay. Correct.
So. Are there any public comments on action items for this evening? Mr. Draper.
Yes, so Mr. Jansma and Newfield Planning Commission, during the public hearing regarding the High Cloud site plan, you stated that you thought our marijuana ordinance is a little muddy, and there's a contradiction between the statement on page 85, which says approved zoning districts for commercial marijuana permits and facilities, grow permits and processor permits may be done in AR1 or C1, and the statement on page 88, which says no permit shall be granted or renewed for a commercial marijuana facility in a residence or in any area of the township where the predominant land uses at the time of the permit application within a quarter mile of the proposed commercial marijuana facility are residential housing structures. It has been said that our marijuana ordinance was poorly written, is confusing, has many contradictions. I believe that the ordinance was well written by an attorney that was knowledgeable regarding the Michigan Regulation and Taxation of Marijuana Act, or MRTA. I believe that another municipality hired said attorney to draft an ordinance for their municipality. When the skids were starting to be greased in Newfield, I believe someone found the ordinance on another municipal website, plagiarized and edited the ordinance to provide a quick, easy route to bring recreational marijuana money into the township. The editing and especially formatting of the ordinance was done extremely poorly. There's no doubt of that. The two statements that you had a hard time reconciling do not contradict at all, and I believe they were part of the original ordinance before it was edited by Newfield. According to state law, MCL 333.27959 section 93C, which I gave you, no marijuana establishments can be permitted on land zoned residential. When that was put into the ordinance, this law was clearly known. The second statement regarding not having a marijuana facility near a high concentration of homes would have been included as a preventative measure, keeping homes safe from the negative impacts of the facilities, even if the homes are not on land specifically zoned residential. I believe a certain individual has tried to convince you that since our ordinance states that marijuana facilities are allowed in AR1 and C1, that doesn't mean they're not allowed in residential, because the ordinance doesn't specifically say marijuana facilities are not permitted in residential zones. I would caution you against listening to that kind of advice. It sounds like something that came from the kid your parents didn't want you hanging out with. This would be no different than my children asking me if they can go outside and shoot their BB guns. I tell them that would be fine in the backyard or the empty pasture. If I catch them shooting in the front yard, do you think the excuse, "you didn't say we can't shoot in the front yard," is going to work? You also requested a letter from an attorney. I hired an attorney that specializes in Michigan marijuana law to draft such a letter, and have provided it to the Planning Commission and will be providing it to the board. Also, it's Varnum's, huge firm. So a marijuana attorney looked at it, sent it to their municipal attorney who reviewed it, and it's been reviewed by like 3 attorneys before you guys got it. The Planning Commission has in their possession a copy of the MCL 333.27959, which is the state law regarding the prohibition of marijuana facilities on land zoned residential. You also have a letter from an attorney explaining the law, the ordinance, and the master plan stance on this topic. This meeting is being live streamed and recorded, so decisions you make are permanent record on video, not just meeting minutes. And approving a permit for the expansion of a marijuana facility on land zoned residential would be a willful, blatant violation of state law. I trust that you will unanimously vote in a manner that complies with state law and the marijuana ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, we'll move on to communications and correspondence. Has anyone else received anything apart from Mr. Draper's letter? Okay, I did check the my mailbox here. The mailbox was checked today as well, and I only received one letter, and I will read it into the record as follows. Bear with me. Mr. Jansma, I am writing to you in regard to the requested special use permit for High Cloud LLC for property at 7655 East M20, Hesperia, Michigan. I hope that you and the other Planning Commission members have done your due diligence and already looked into the legality of such a proposal, not just accepted the hearsay or advice of a zoning official who has proven himself to be unprofessional, incompetent, and dishonest in his dealings. I suspect that you are being set as the quote-unquote fall guy in a scheme that leaves you in the position of having recommended that the Newfield Township Board violate state law and local ordinance. The facility at 7655 East M20 has been and is currently in violation of state law and several Newfield ordinances. The facility was permitted to set up on land zoned residential and is subsequently seeking to expand on land that is also. This is prohibited. They also have not met the landscape requirements, setback requirements, DOT commercial driveway requirements, housing requirements, etc. Permitting any further or future marijuana growing, processing, etc. should not be allowed. Please consider and look into these violations, as all is available through a simple search of public records. Now that you know, you cannot claim otherwise. Please do your part to bring respect for the rule of law back to our community. Thank you, Carrie Draper, 4250 South 184th Avenue, Hesperia, Michigan, and it is signed as such. The next item on our agenda is the special use permit hearing. Our applicant has not yet arrived, but I hope he'll be here shortly. So I will read out the procedures for this evening. First, as the chair, I'd like to thank everyone for attending this evening's meeting and hearing. It is good to see a wide variety of people participating in local government. The purpose of the hearing this evening is for a marijuana facility currently operating in Newfield Township to present information regarding their facility, and for the commission and the public to hear information regarding their requested special use permit for property they have or are about to acquire. As many of you will be aware, the facility has already applied for and has received a site plan modification for this property. The applicant for this evening is High Cloud LLC, a grow and processing facility located on the south side of M20 west of 192nd Avenue. The applicant will be given 5 minutes to explain their request. Following their presentation, there will be approximately 15 minutes allotted for questions and comments from the public. I should note, I didn't write this down for myself, but I should note under the Open Meetings Act, I can't give you the 15 minutes, and cut it off then, but that's about what we're gonna shoot for so we can get on with the rest of the meeting for the evening. Questions posed will be limited to 2 minutes, with up to 1 minute for reply or rebuttal from the applicant. And there he is. Those wishing to speak are asked to wait until recognized by the chair and to give their name and address for the record. All persons are reminded that proper decorum will be maintained at all times. We will not tolerate any yelling, cursing, interrupting of speakers, or accusations or derogatory statements. Speakers will be recognized only once unless the chair determines additional comments are warranted. We just want to have a healthy debate and conversation, and the proper administration of local government cannot take place without it. At the conclusion of the hearing and the question and answer session, we'll take a brief recess before continuing with the meeting. Without further ado, you may begin. Andre, you may begin your presentation.
Oh,
for your
sorry.
permit. That's okay.
Yeah, alright, presented, I got the farm off the road here. The reason why we're here today is because we're trying to get the property into our, zone properly, or, to do what we need to do. For the past 20 years, it's been zone commercial. They're mining it at the moment for, sand. The guy wants to retire, wants to sell out. I'm gonna purchase it up on, last month we got it approved to grow. But again, we need to be in the right zoning, which is commercial, not what it used to be 20 years ago, residential. So that's why we're here today. If you guys have any questions, I'll answer anything you guys need to. Any questions, anybody? Got a question?
I don't have especially a question for you. I do have some information for you that might be helpful to you if you'd like.
Absolutely.
Okay, sure.
Anything you got?
So in my digging up stuff, and like I said, I've got no beef with you.
No,
I've
no,
got
no,
troubles with how things are operating here, but this is state law that says
Okay.
how much the township is allowed to charge you per year. And I know you're paying a tremendous amount of money for your permits.
Yeah, per license.
Yes,
Yeah.
so that's actually, if you read it, it's per establishment. And then this is
Okay.
from Scott Roberts Law Firm that also says it's $5,000 per establishment, up to that to defray costs. Something you might wanna.
So I have partnerships in multiple licenses around
Yep.
state of Michigan. That's a good one, but, we pay 5,000 in all the other townships
Right,
that we're at.
yep, I
Right.
understand.
So it's saying here up to 5,000, honestly.
It probably doesn't bother you a bit, but.
No, does it
Yeah.
bother me? Yeah,
Yeah.
sure, it bothers me, but in the beginning, it was per license, so I don't know if the state changed their mind now.
Sure.
It's like you guys changing your mind to kick me out of here after I spent millions, you know what I mean? So if in the beginning it was okay to be 5,000 per license, I guess it's grandfathered in, is it? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean.
If you guys wanna lower it down, I'll take it.
You're not
I'm
gonna
say no to
complain.
that, but I will definitely take this, there's
Yeah,
quite a few
yeah.
pages, I'll look into it.
Sure.
But since I'm up here, a couple weeks ago, we took our little family vacation. I do it this time of year only because, we go away because my whole year now is here. So that was 2 weeks. Bob Beckman's now gone. They started the berm a couple weeks ago. They got stuck in the mud. They came out, they put the picks down at the 70 or 75 foot mark where the MDOT allows, because they own up to that much, all of M20, state-owned road or whatever. So they're coming back beginning of next week, and they're gonna start building that berm. We're gonna plant some plants in there. We got some Christmas trees. We're gonna put that all along M20. Just like I told you guys, I'll do that. But obviously, everything takes time. Hopefully we get it done this coming week, and that will, end of that discussion. Any other problems that we have going on forward, you just let me know and we'll address it. That's all. All right? Anything else? All right, thank you.
Do we need a recess? If there's nothing else, we can just move on to the rest of the meeting then.
I'm sorry, guys. Did you guys have any questions for me?
Not yet.
Okay.
All right, I will entertain a motion to adjourn the hearing and continue with the rest of the meeting.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Robertson, supported by Rosenau. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. 5-0. All right, moving on, do we have any old business to discuss at the moment? I don't believe we do. Okay. Under new business, we have deliberation and discussion of the special use permit for High Cloud LLC. A copy of the application has been provided to all of you for the evening, along with a application review checklist for us to go over. And I had a chance over the weekend, despite it being Easter, or because it was Easter, gave me a reason to not do anything with my in-laws, to go over the application, go over the site plan, just take it all in, read it, try and understand it. And at the moment, the only question I have, Mrs. Conley, is it possible for you to grab the property card for that parcel? Or do you, or?
I can bring it up online on my computer.
Okay, I would appreciate that.
I can, if I have the
Okay.
phone number.
Okay. Thought I had it. I meant to ask this earlier, I apologize.
That's okay.
I don't know if we actually had it. Yeah.
Of the parcel number.
Yeah, parcel number, yeah. But for now, while we wait for that, discussion.
We're gonna go down through
Yeah, we can,
working together.
yeah, we can, yeah.
It works pretty good.
And we'll work that way. So did the applicant provide a complete and detailed site plan and application? Yes, it's a brand new site plan. The application is complete in form. It is on the official township special use permit application form that he was provided. And the DBA, articles of incorporation, the federal ID number, insurance and everything is on file in the office. Just in order to print all of that off, we'd have killed an entire forest. But if anyone wishes to see any of that information, it can be provided. There were objections to the application by neighboring property owners. There are 2 of them on file, on record for today.
Two different ones or from the same address?
They're the same address, but it's still two separate objections, even though they're the same property. But I guess it would technically account for 1 objection for 1 neighboring property.
And I realize these aren't up to date anymore, so it's what Steve will get you, but this is what's from the back.
All right, thank you. So I've got as everyone knows, the most accurate records in the world are tax records. I have the property cards that we have for this particular parcel. Yeah, I'm trying to make heads or tails of it.
I've got the,
You'll have the most.
Yeah, but this is history.
Right.
That's what we're basing it on.
have even the more recent history from beyond that, and it's assessed at current. We also do have on file the special use permit that's currently in
Yes.
effect for that property.
Look through here. 2006. 2006, I have class commercial. It was the property was zoned commercial in 2006. We had master plan review and zoning ordinance update around 2008 was when the master plan was written.
2009,
Mm-hmm. I have 2000 and doesn't appear to be dated, but it predates that one, and it was zoned agricultural at that time. Just going back and looking over the history of the parcel, I see, there it is. This was printed. This was printed in 2009, class commercial. So it was zoned commercial again in 2009 as well. That's really all I wanted, was the history of how the property had been treated. So,
I have a question, if you don't mind.
Yeah,
If it was commercial, why
Yeah.
are we here?
because when I'm
So
conjecting, I'm,
Just,
yep.
I'm learning, right?
yep, I'm learning right along with you. When the zoning ordinance was rewritten and the map was redrawn, that property was not in the commercial district lines. We have to take that into account as well.
So it wasn't actually like drawn up in some new maps or something, but in your files, it was commercial?
Correct,
Okay.
and
So
that's,
if I go to Google Maps and Google Maps puts my address about 6 miles up, west of me, right?
mhm.
So just because my address is 6 miles west of me on Google Maps, is that really my address? You know what I mean?
Right.
So, we can't take some stuff that's on the internet
Oh, yeah, no.
and apply it to us, you know what I mean? And then create this whole,
Yep. But with the issue that we face is that property was zoned as and treated commercial or agricultural. Then when the new map was drafted and drawn and approved, that property was left out of that commercial zone.
Okay,
That's what the issue is.
okay.
It's, the paperwork all says it's commercial, but the map says residential.
Appreciate it, yeah, appreciate
That's-
clarifying that.
Yep.
All right.
That's what confused me. Yes, sir.
I'd also like to just clarify that there is a difference between zoned and assessed.
Yes.
So something could be zoned residential and assessed commercial.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep. It's whatever the purpose is there, depending on where it's
Yeah.
permissible. It does fall in, on the map, it falls in a zoned residential area, not agricultural or agricultural recreational or commercial. It falls under residential. And that does, we have it, it's been, on the property card, it's zoned commercial. It's been treated as commercial. It's been used commercially for 20 years, 20 years plus. But we do have the issue of, it is, according to our zoning map and ordinance, zoned residential. And I don't wanna do anything that'll get the township. That's, if we say yes to using that residential property for cannabis, that opens all of us up to liability. Huge liability.
What's the property in front of that?
It's all residential.
I thought it was all commercial up to there.
Yeah, it's all commercial.
On the map, it's residential.
Okay.
Is the map outdated, or is that current map?
That's current. The master plan process that we're beginning, you can see right to, stripped in front is commercial.
Yeah, strictly
Yeah, in front,
commercial,
yeah, the
okay.
strip in front is commercial. But back, this is where the parcel is, it's right behind
The
that
parcel
line.
that he wishes to change.
Correct.
From the current land.
Yeah. If it was a whole parcel, similar to the situation you have now, the front half of where you're operating now is strictly zoned commercial, but the back half of that parcel, even though it's the whole parcel, falls outside of that line, which is where Mr. and Mrs. Draper have a big issue, is because it technically is being grown on land zoned residential. Even though the whole strip, the front of it is commercial, and if it's over half of the land area is used commercially, it treats the whole lot as commercial, even though the map does not show that. It should be the parcel, not a portion of the parcel, because that just seems arbitrary, but it's what the map says, what the law and what the ordinance says.
I don't know if it's zoned the entire portion, it's taxed the entire portion.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, the entire portion is tax commercial, but
Because it's one parcel.
And the front half is zoned.
Zone.
Yes.
Correct.
That is why we use a special use permit.
Mhm.
In some townships, they actually rezone parcels. So you take parcel XYZ and you say, oh, it's no longer residential, it's now a commercial parcel. We don't take that approach because you get a phone map that looks like chicken pox with a bunch of dots of this and that. We use a special use permit so that while that use is in effect, it's subject to that zoning. And then if the special use is no longer present,
Then it reverts. The special use permit, though, does not change, it changes how it's treated, but not how it's zoned. So we still run into the issue of, marijuana in violation of state law, as was pointed out, may not be located in an area zoned exclusively for residential use, which that parcel is zoned for residential use. A special use permit, would the special use permit absolve us of that?
Theoretically, yes, because you're supplanting, you're temporarily zoned as commercial use. In other words, while it's, you can, similar to the one we did on 192nd, you have a prohibited use in a residential area, that we gave a special use permit to do that use. In that case, it was auto repair. It's prohibited, but with the special use, it basically allows that use on that parcel. And we do it under Michigan Zoning Enabling Act, we have that authority to do that.
But do we have the ability to violate state law?
If you're not violating state law, if you're following the Michigan Zoning Enabling Act.
But in the placement of a marijuana facility, are we violating state law?
I do not believe so.
I can add to that. When you change the zoning, which in this case you guys don't do, you do special use permits. You know, I built an apartment building, I said this here once before, it was R1, it was residential, single family dwellings, but I own an apartment building, apartment complex right next to it. So we went to the city there, and, you know, we wanted the zoning change to, you know, multifamily. And a lot of people didn't agree because they thought it was gonna add traffic on the main road. But eventually we got it approved and we built some buildings there. They changed the zoning from R1 to like multiple family basically. Here, in some, you know, if it would have been the same case, we would have changed the zoning from whatever it is now to whatever we need it to be, which is commercial, right? So you guys don't do that in this township. So that being said, we're here today to get a special use permit, which, you know, just like those guys have it for the past 20 years, it's special use permit to dig in the ground and mine sand. You know, I mean, that's what we're here for today, just to get a special use permit.
Yes, sir.
And I would say the difference is, like, say with an automotive repair place or a gravel pit, there's no specific state law that says you can't do that in residential.
Yeah.
With the marijuana, when you look in the MIRMA law, it specifies you can't do that, and that would be the difference.
Can we change zoning?
No, this is in the state law, not
Yeah, so you can, that's why we're here, to change the use.
that, changing the zoning is a whole nother process.
A whole other ball of wax.
Yeah, it's a whole nother process.
Because we don't do strip zoning, we can't just say, yes, this parcel has been, by the power vested in us, made commercial. We don't have that authority. We don't do that here. Mr. Bowles?
I was under the understanding, once you mined it, that it had to be filled in before you could turn it back to residential. That place has never been
That may be.
reclaimed or
Yep, that may be.
fixed or nothing.
Yep.
So therefore, it should stay commercial until it's, that's what it's been. And it didn't get fixed.
Yes. But he's changing the special use now from gravel to marijuana facility. When you're changing from one to the other, does it revert to residential before it changes or not? Do you just?
Mr. Draper, I'm sorry, I'm trying to breeze through the zoning
And
enabling
I'd say
act real
the
fast.
zoning never changed.
No.
I mean, Beckman is mining gravel on land zoned residential, they just have special permission to do it, which is
Right,
fine.
which is,
So it's still
asking,
zoned
he's
residential.
asking to, right, okay, he's asking to relieve this one so we can implement another.
Right.
So now we're going.
Yeah, so a special use permit isn't gonna rezone it, it's just gonna say we're allowing you to do this
Yeah.
special thing on land that's not zoned for it.
But we're going away from commercial and then turning it back into commercial.
Not even that, we're not changing the zoning,
Right.
but it's because it's being used for a commercial purpose is why it has an existing special use permit. That as well. Mr. Farber?
Yeah, well, either you can change your zoning where you can change the special use, but your bigger problems coming in is if you got your state law that's saying you can't do it, you've also got past practice of it being commercial. So he's got just as much liability of suing us as what
Correct.
Mr. Draper does.
Correct.
So you're both sides are going at it here, and it really stands as you got past practice, it's commercial. Do you have anything in your paperwork anywhere that says it's ever went back to residential?
Other than just.
Other than the zoning map that shows that that parcel
That
falls in
zoning map,
residential.
someone screwed it up.
Yep.
Yeah.
That would be my take. The map got screwed up. Now, Mr. Draper might have another opinion on that, you know, but you're sitting there, you gotta find something that says that property that's in the minutes has been put back to residential. The only thing you've got that says it is commercial.
Yeah, special use permit was never revoked for that parcel. But the issue,
It's been used for commercial.
the issue's not what it's used for, it's what it's zoned. And on the map, it shows it's zoned residential.
But
And
even if it's residential and you're using it for commercial, it's been allowed to be used as commercial.
Correct.
It is considered commercial.
yes, but the parcel still is zoned residential on the map.
Being taxed
And I
as
have-
commercial.
I have a section of the MRTMA that says may not be located in areas zoned exclusively for residential use.
But we've allowed
Correct,
commercial use in residential for, you said
Oh, yeah.
20 plus years?
20+ years.
But this is now marijuana state law, not
Well,
commercial.
But it's, yours commercial, if it's commercial, there's no deal, there's no problem with it.
You know, there's
So we
marijuana,
gotta clear up our gray areas, as everyone says.
Well,
there is with marijuana, according to state law.
Yeah.
That's what I'm reading, according to state law.
But state law, like I said, you know, you can change it through, you know, special use, because that's gonna allow you to change a special use to commercial. And so then
I
you're
don't
gonna
think you
comply
can
with
with
state law.
marijuana.
Well, it's the same thing, it
No,
doesn't
it's
matter
not.
what it is, if you're commercial,
I don't think you can with
check
marijuana.
with your attorney.
Well, that's what,
Yeah.
that would be,
That's what you gotta do, right?
That
You
would be
gotta
the
ask your
proof.
attorney,
I
who's
would
right
need-
here before.
I would like to get clarification.
It
So,
doesn't matter, it depends on what our attorney says.
my question now, because otherwise we're just gonna keep going around in circles. Let's continue on with the checklist here. Finish our discussion, and we'll, I think maybe have a idea brewing in the back of my head. I'm gonna let it form up a little bit more while we go through this. So, where did I end up? Number 3, are hazardous areas properly fenced or contained? Absolutely, that is a magnificent heavy-duty fence. Will this activity create a hazard to the community? None that we are aware of, apart from a nuisance from odor. There's no, because what they have to use for pesticides or fertilizers has to be organic, it can't be harmful chemicals. Does the proposed facility front a major road? Yes, Highway M20. Do the primary entrances and exits front a major road? Yes, Highway M20. Are there natural or man-made barriers to prevent intrusion into neighboring properties and or maintain the characteristic of the surrounding properties? Yes, and there are more in progress, right? You said you've got the berm coming up and you're planting on
I
it.
mean, look, you know, you may like it and maybe somebody else may not like it. So, you know, we can't
It's all
please
subjective.
everybody, you know, I mean, we're gonna
So
put,
hard.
put some trees there, we're gonna, you know, hide the fence now. We put the fence to hide the marijuana, now we're gonna put a berm with trees to hide the fence in the front of M20. Honestly, I don't know what else I could do, you know,
Okay.
the state allows people to put a chain link fence with just some cloth.
Mhm.
You know, I mean, I could have done that, that would have cost me about 50,000 less. But, you know, being an M20, I wanted to cover it a little bit better and went the extra mile, but now we're gonna go even further and put berm and trees, that's pretty costly too.
And then is the proposed use consistent with the community? To an extent, I have to say yes. It went to a vote of the public, and it was, I can't say overwhelmingly, but it was approved. And then will the proposed use harm neighboring properties in any manner, despite what people say? No, apart from the nuisance of the smell. There doesn't appear to be any harm done specifically. Like no one's grown an extra toe. Should any special conditions be attached to an approval? I would like to say yes. The facility should be brought into compliance with all township and state ordinances and laws as soon as practical. And a, opinion from,
Sorry to cut you off, but when you say compliance.
yes.
can you
So the berm and the trees being in progress helps,
Okay.
but they need to, I mean, in order to be officially in compliance with the ordinance, they need to be complete.
Okay,
If you found what I'm saying.
yeah, no, I follow completely
Yeah.
what you're saying. You know, we put some trees, obviously,
Mhm.
they're not growing as fast as we would like to, but we're gonna definitely change
Yeah.
that. But when you say compliance, I just want to clarify that, because I don't want people thinking what else is there.
Yeah, no, yeah,
That's it.
no, that's it.
Okay,
And then verifying compliance, I guess is what I should have said. Compliance should be verified of all of our ordinances, and making, you know, I'm sure you have the state breathing down your neck every
yeah, we
quarter.
had them 3 days ago.
Yeah.
They came out, went through the facility. This was the fire marshal. They come out
Okay.
twice a year as well.
Yeah.
They go through, make sure everything is, you know, safety first, basically.
Yeah. Okay. And then I'm gonna put it in the hands of the township board to get from the attorney, the regular use attorney, I suppose, for zoning, if a special use permit, because we don't strip zone, we don't do it dot by dot, parcel by parcel, if that absolves us of our issue. Strictly speaking, the planning commission doesn't get to pick and choose. We have to follow a rubric. We have to go by what the Zoning Enabling Act, state law, and our zoning ordinance say. And our zoning ordinance and our bylaws say that you can change the use of a property with a special use permit. But does that absolve us of the issue posed by section 9.3 Charlie of the MRMA? That's what I'd like to know. So, long story short, based on the rubric, based on the information, yes, ma'am.
When you're doing property, like the property that he has now, it's part commercial, part residential.
Mm-hmm.
More residential than commercial. He can use it as commercial because the property is worth more commercial than it is residential. Just like if you have a farm,
Mm-hmm.
if you have like a $75,000 house, but your farm brings in $150,000, then it stays agricultural. If you have $150,000 from your farm and you put up a $300,000 house, guess what? Now it's residential. Doesn't matter that you're still farming it. The house is worth more than the agricultural, so it becomes residential. That piece of property has been commercial for 20 plus years. It's worth more commercial than residential, so it's considered commercial, as long as that's what it's being used for.
Right. I'm just still fuzzy on usage versus what the zoning actually says.
Do we need to move it out of residential? Do we need to redraw our map?
Well,
I think we got too
Well,
progressive when we went
if
that
that
far.
map came from Oceana County, their maps are wrong. Right now, there's nobody in Oceana County that's in compliance with maps because the maps are wrong. And even if you do the Oceana GIS, the maps are wrong. The maps that the townships have are wrong.
Okay.
And they're aware of it, the state's aware of it, the townships are aware of it. We can't do anything until Oceana fixes it, and then the townships can fix
But where
it.
will the residential line, where is it?
Well, I don't know, that's,
Supposed to fall.
Wayne, to more directly answer your question, we did this just recently, 2 years ago, when we moved, our cluster housing used to be, Bob Forbes' property, next to the fire barn. And then we thought about moving it, and Mike remembers it, we thought about moving it over here by, what's his name, Dean's.
Yeah.
And then we realized the smart thing was to move it south of town there, because then you could bring water and sewer, because that's the only way you can extend water and sewer from the village. And if you ever want to have multi-family housing, which we need, it has to be in your cluster housing zone. So, we did change the map, and we do have the power to change our maps.
Well, let's say we got planning
Yeah.
in stage for working on our,
Yeah, so, you know, going forward, or, you know, or at any time, you can, you know, you have to do it by, you know, following the same process. You know, notice, public hearing, and all that, but yeah, you can change the zoning map, whenever you wish.
But you're all right, we need to check with our,
find out,
from our,
that part
that's
there.
who needs to tell
I
us.
would like to know that
Yep.
somehow where the line is supposed to be. As
You
far
just
as
have
how
to get a
far out
survey
there's a
for
road.
that.
I got a
Well,
suggestion.
Is that gonna be the, well, no, but, as far as, we say county needs to account for that first, before we can account for where it is?
You know, I give you an example, like, when she's talking on GIS, down in our Vita Weaver Park, I had a guy come and drive, fence post right in the middle of the parking lot there, because his property to the south by the GIS and the honey naps all showed that's where he was. Well, when he come in and, then we got Hepworth to come in and survey it, because he wanted, that's his property, you know, and so he wanted us off from it. Well, when they come in, his property was almost 65 foot to the south. It was off that far.
Yeah.
You know,
I've run into that issue as well.
yeah, you know, and Hepworth, he says, I love that. He says, I love the GPS, you know, and the hunting apps, he says, because they're so far off. He says, I make all kinds of money off of them. You know, but your attorney's the one that we need to talk to cover everyone.
Anyone else, anything?
My thoughts are, we get it approved from the attorney, then we approve it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been zoned commercial, I mean, it's been used commercial, and if it's been that long, it's almost like the grandfather rule.
Yes, sir.
Okay, by the way, you approve with the condition that the attorney gives us the thumb up.
That's what I was just about to add, I was gonna add that to the,
That way, it gives me,
because,
you guys enough time to find out exactly, we're not stepping in nobody's toes, the state or anyone.
Yeah.
And, you know, hopefully they give us a fast answer, right?
because like I was saying, not to interrupt, but like I was saying, our role, we have to follow this,
Absolutely.
you know, and we've done that. Because a special use permit is changing the zoning of a parcel. I mean, we can approve it, recommend it, we can recommend it to the township board for approval pending, legal opinion on whether our doing so is in compliance with the MERPA. Cause this one sentence may not be located in areas zoned exclusively for residential use. It's been treated commercial for over 20 years. It shows on the property card as commercial. It shows in the GIS as agricultural. What is it? And if the maps are bunk, I mean, why are they published, is my other question. That's, you know, if they're useless, why are we pining to them anyway? I just like clarification, but our role is to apply the balance test here, which tells us that it should be approved. I feel we've done our scrutiny and due diligence here, and by asking for the attorney to explicitly tell us in their opinion if a special use permit, or if we need to go through the process of changing once and for all the zoning of that parcel, or if we just need to say, no, these parcels, and what do we need to do? If that's all part of the master plan and zoning ordinance process, we're starting that, we're working on it. But I think I've said all I can say, my throat's pretty dry.
Is that a motion?
I will entertain a motion, for High Cloud special use permit for recommendation to the board.
I'll support it.
Pending
Pending, yep.
circumstances, yes.
All right, so let me try that again. I will entertain a motion to recommend to the Newfield Township Board the approval of the special use permit for High Cloud LLC pending legal opinion on our role of a special use permit versus MRTMA Section 9.3C. All right, I'll say motion by Jansma, supported by Mr. Ferris, excuse me. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll do this in a roll call vote. Mr. Rosema?
Yes.
Mr. Robertson?
Yes.
Mr. Ferris?
Yes.
Mrs. Hopkins?
Yes.
And Mr. Jansma is a yes. So that is approved 5-0, the motion will carry. I'll come back to that in a minute. The master plan, we have the contract has been sent to McKenna. We're going to schedule, get something scheduled for a workshop meeting to feel out the process with McKenna and to get started. They'll have all that information for us at that meeting. It will not be published, but it will be posted. It'll be posted on the township's website, Facebook page, and on the bulletin board outside the township hall. That's the requirements for postings under the Open Meetings Act. And we'll go from there. I'm excited to get started on the process and see where we can take our little corner of paradise. Mr. Micklin, do you have anything for us this week? Month?
Yes, I do.
Okay,
Can't expect me to be that quiet.
we can dream.
Dream audio. No, things, the usual report.
A lot of difference between a dream and a nightmare when it comes to you.
Well, you know, I work hard at that, Rick. I work overtime sometimes on basically, we had one permit for a new home, last month. Things are a little slow yet, but I think that's just a matter of, you know, we have a couple things going on. Interest rates just about doubling. And then, of course, as Mike will probably attest to, contractors are pretty backed up.
Yeah.
Trying to finish the work that they have, and so it's, I expect things will start jumping probably in about 2-3 months. That's really what's going on in terms of planning commission in relation to that, and things that are more related to the board. If I'm working on a rewrite of our light and public safety ordinance, but that's not subject to something that we do through planning. Other than perhaps the master plan. We have, big thing is cleanup day. It's June 3rd, and I like that because cleanup day is a lot of fun. We're always looking for volunteers, so if folks want to come out and help, that's always a good thing. Traditionally, historically, the cleanup day has been an event sponsored, so to speak, by the planning commission, and so planning commission members will usually come out to help a little bit, and we appreciate that. It is, will be from 8 to 1 on Saturday, June 3rd. We will accept all kinds of household garbage, no hazardous materials, no tires, and no yard waste. It's really the only things we prohibit. There's always, for the volunteers, there's always refreshments served, and they're really good too. So that's what I have.
Okay. I just buried my agenda, there we go. So I'll open it up for general discussion of the commission. Does anyone have anything to discuss this evening? That we haven't already touched on, or that we have?
I just wanna say for that cleanup day, we've had a lot of help from the facilities. In the past, they've had numerous people here
quite a few people.
Yes, it makes it a little easier when we're getting that many trucks coming in here, and it's, can be strenuous, and we have lots of help.
So as I say, before it even starts, they're unloading out there and
Yeah.
They start the day.
half
They'll
filled,
get early, yeah.
half filled.
middle.
I got a question for you on the cleanup. When you go around and pick some stuff up that people aren't able to bring in themselves, there's an old couch on the side of the road out on 160th, but it's on Ferry side. Can I drag it across? You come, get a hold of me, we'll go over there and pick that up.
He moved a swimming pool and there was maggots on it, he didn't have gloves, he wasn't real happy about that.
Swimming.
We got her out there anyway.
But yeah, we've drove around, picked up toilets, I've gone up to houses, hey, can we take that?
And people think, oh, it's that crazy lady.
Again, volunteers are extremely encouraged.
Yeah.
Say, you get a hold of me, we'll pick that up.
People are dumping in the township property too, out by us out there. I went
Oh,
through there
yeah.
and bike the other day, there's a couch and TVs and,
Mattress.
car seats, mattresses,
You didn't
tires.
find any paper?
Well, I didn't pick through it, I should. And it's bad.
I found them before, I had
Yeah,
a check receipt. and
it's way worse than it was last year.
The school property's horrible out there too.
And I don't understand, we've got the cleanup here that people can bring to it, and it's gotta be out of township
Convenience.
residents.
Yeah. Back to us.
If they don't have a way to bring stuff here, I have a truck and a dump trailer.
Okay.
That we can have one of the guys.
We can
I don't know,
advertise
if you wanna
it.
make some calls, I mean, I'm not trying to pick up everybody's.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, if we start doing that, people are gonna,
Yeah,
the
no,
phone
yeah,
will
right.
stop ringing.
Why don't we, can I make a suggestion?
Absolutely.
Why don't we put that on our Facebook page and on the website, and Andre, we don't wanna abuse you and your guys.
No, I'll have a guy with a truck and trailer, I don't think I'll be able to go, cause we're planning June 1st, second like that,
But,
week, yeah.
What we'll do is, we'll have a contact number,
Mm-hmm.
and we'll say that we can accept,
Limited.
we'll make it a limit of, we're gonna do this much.
Yeah, we'll hash that out after.
Yeah, that sounds like a.
And get that sorted out. Okay.
We don't want to
The township has a dump trailer also, I'd be willing to use that, so.
We gotta make it so it's for people that aren't able to.
Able.
Yeah,
Not,
When you show up to a 25-year-old's house that doesn't wanna get out and do something, that doesn't constitute the reason for it.
I resemble that one.
Yes.
All right, I will open it up for general public comments. Same rules apply as earlier. Let's try and keep it on topic, keep it nice and happy, sunshine and rainbows. Anyone have anything for us? Okay. I show pending, something happening with McKenna. Our next regularly scheduled meeting is June 8th. 2023, that is a Thursday, as they all are. And we'll be meeting at 7 o'clock unless we change the time to meet with McKenna earlier to suit their needs, or if we have to have a special meeting in May. Again, like I said, it will be posted. Try and do everything to the letter here. June 8th. Mm-hmm. 5 days after the cleanup day, if that helps your calendar a little better. So I have only to say the recommendation for the township board is to approve the special use permit application for High Cloud, pending legal opinion on whether we are in jeopardy with MRMA section 9.3C. That's all I have. We already made our motion on that, we don't need to do it again. So with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Good.
Okay, motion by Robertson. Supported by Rosema. To adjourn, any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor will say aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. 5-0. Thank you very much.